Hey everyone, so today's topic, we're going to discuss the difference between why your heart rate goes up doing lifting and then doing cardiovascular exercise or conditioning, and why you shouldn't use lifting weights as a form of conditioning, except for one or two exceptions, and we'll talk about that in a second. So the reason why when we go out and go for a jog, right, when we're doing your steady state type of cardio, more aerobically driven, the reason your heart rate starts to go up is for the demand of oxygen, right? So cardiac output is basically how much blood is pumped during each minute, and cardiac output is the formula is stroke volume, so how much blood is ejected with every stroke of the heart times how many beats is beaten per minute. So heart rate, stroke volume equals cardiac output, right? So that's the reason why your heart rate starts to elevate. Let's just say if you went to the track and ran 400 meters, is because blood needs to go to your working muscles to provide oxygen, right? So that's the reason why your heart rate would go up. Now when we're lifting weights, again, not your circuit training or boot camp, but when we're actually lifting weights, sets of 5, sets of 12, sets of 15, some of my personal training clients, I have them hooked up to their heart rate monitor, and some of their heart rates are getting up into the 80s, 85, even sometimes 90 plus max heart rate, doing squats and deadlifts, lunges and things like that. Now the reason the heart rate is going up is not for the same reason as when we do our cardiovascular exercise. The reason your heart rate is going up is primarily due to catecholamines, specifically adrenaline, and the hyperventilation, right? Think of when you're squatting, you're deadlifting, you get out of breath, you're huffing and puffing, heart rate starts to drive up because of those two mechanisms, right? Very different than your traditional cardiovascular exercise. Now, why does this matter? Well, it matters because if you're an athlete or if you're highly trained, right? Maybe 2 or 3 years of lifting weights, being active. Now, the way we measure kind of your cardiovascular fitness is by utilizing your VO2 max score, right? You guys probably have all heard of that VO2 max. And if you're relatively fit, by lifting weights, if you're relying on that, even though your heart rate is getting up into the higher thresholds, it's not going to help you from a conditioning standpoint. It's not going to boost your VO2 max, right? And the opposite is true as well. So the people or the population that would benefit cardiovascularly are going to be older people that are very untrained, or what they term newbies, people that don't have a lot of experience lifting weights, doing exercise. If they just lift weights, they're going to get a bump in possibly their VO2 max just from lifting weights, because it's fitness, it's exercise things, it's a stimulus that their body hasn't gotten accustomed to. But if you're highly fit and you're only using weight training or weightlifting as your primary source, if you want to improve your conditioning, even though your heart rates are going up, it's not the same thing. So if you're an athlete trying to improve, or just anyone trying to improve their cardiovascular, your conditioning, you have to include some form of conditioning, right? It has to be separate than your weight training, your weight room workout. So it could be going out for a jog, like a steady state jog, doing some sprints at the track. You can do like battle ropes, do some boxing, something that's going to be demanding your heart to be beating due to getting more oxygen out into the system. So it's very different mechanisms. So don't confuse the two, just because there's a lot of confusion where if you're wearing a heart rate monitor and you're lifting weights and your heart rate's going up, that you're getting a conditioning effect. You're not really getting it if you're highly trained. If you're untrained, then yeah, you can start off just lifting weights and you'll get more fit, but down the road, as you get more accustomed to the exercise, you will need to include some form of cardiovascular exercise. It could be a circuit, right? It could be kettlebells, battle ropes, and things like that at a lower intensity, right? We don't want to always hit high intensity, because if you're not doing low intensity stuff, what's called the cardiac output method, you're not allowing that heart to fill with blood because it's too high intensity. So you do got to include some lower intensity. They could be recovery days. They could just be days that you're just not feeling like you can push yourself and you're just going at a 60 to 70% max effort. But the purpose of those workouts are to be in that low intensity zone to facilitate recovery, but also to get that cardiac output adaptation to help your heart and help that aerobic anaerobic system in the body, right? So just make sure you don't confuse the two. Just because your heart rate goes up during lifting weights, it's not the same as it would be as if you're doing conditioning, all right? So just want to kind of clarify that. Hopefully you got some value out of this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos, and I always appreciate the shares and the support. If you have any questions about the video, drop them in the comment below. And until next time, I'm Coach Jerry. I'm out of here.